Book of Fragapatti, son of Jehovah, Chapter 14. Upward rose the Avalanza with this contrasting assemblage of the souls of light, and with the souls of darkness, the Drujas, the holy Esanars chanting anthems of praise and thanksgiving, whilst the Drujas were engaged in or cursing everything in heaven or earth, or in weeping and moaning, or in stupor, dull as if dead. 2. Fragapatti had previously sent swift messengers to Athrava and the holy council of Maudu, where he had descended the light of Jehovah, whose voice came upon them, saying, 3. Lo, my host come in the Avalanza. Prepare ye to inhabit them, 30 million. Choose ye from my Etherians and my Atmospherians, who shall receive the host of the Avalanza, the 900 million in darkness. Go ye therefore to the borders of the sea, Ch.14, near the crossroads, Selu, where I have created the plains of Ch.14-16, ample for the resurrection. And ye shall provide them houses and hospitals and nurseries, suitable for them to dwell in, being ready, when the Avalanza cometh, to deliver them. 4. Athrava and the holy council had responded to this, and the swift messengers in turn had informed Fragapatti of the place prepared. Accordingly, the Avalanza was landed in Ch.14-16, where the 30 million were in waiting to receive them, disciplined by Ardiata, goddess of Zay, in Etheria, first of the 7 Letas, Ietas in Gon, and they had 10,000 trumpeters, besides other players, 4,200. 5. Ardiata had provided the pastures in green and in red and brown, but the green she had laid near Ch.14, where the Avalanza would land. Hence it was called Ch.14-16, signifying green for the newborn. Consequently, the Drudas were delivered from the Avalanza on an open green plain, neither dark nor light, suited to the diseased in mind. 6. Fragapatti knew Ardiata, for her former kingdom in Etheria lay in one of his own provinces, and it was for him to commune with her at a distance, and without messengers. So even before the Avalanza landed, he said unto her, 7. I will cast the Drujas on the green fields, and as fast as thou and thy host can resuscitate them to consciousness, they shall be selected and carried into the houses and nurseries thou hast provided for them. 8. Thus was the Avalanza discharged of the Drujas, for the present in Haraiti, to receive treatment prior to being carried to Seredo. And Ardiata and her host took charge of them, although more than 4 million of Hoab's host also remained with them as volunteers to assist in the redemption. 9. Then Fragapatti directed the ship to be steered for Maudu, whither it arrived in due season, and there were in waiting to receive him more than 1,000 million souls, and they have provided musicians, 1 million players and singers, so that far and near it was like a sea of music. 10. When Hoab looked upon the beauty and magnificence of the scene, and especially the discipline, his soul was filled with thanks to the Great Spirit, so that he could scarce speak. And when he mastered himself a little, he said, O chief Fragapatti, how could one so exalted as thou art come to me in Zeredho? Every hour am I rebuked by myself because of my formal vanity. 11. Fragapatti said, To learn not to speak of oneself, nor to think of oneself, whether praised or rebuked, is this not the right road to Jehovah? Hoab said, It is true. Therefore the opposite is going on the wrong road. Chapter 15. When the Avalanza was made fast, and the host came forth, many of the Zeredhoans, fearing the brilliancy of the lights of Maudu, were permitted to go and dwell a little way off. But the others, led by Fragapatti and Hoab, entered the capital city, and came before the throne of Jehovah, greeted by Athrava and the holy council. 2. Athrava said, In the name of Jehovah, O chief, greeting, and to thee, O Hoab, come ye and honor the throne of Maudu. 3. Fragapatti said, Greeting to thee, Athrava, and to ye, most holy council, in the name of our Father. Hoab said, Greeting in Jehovah's name. 4. And then Fragapatti and Hoab went forward and ascended the throne, and sat on the left hand of Athrava. At once the light from the Etherian worlds began to fall upon the throne, and even upon the whole council, and the light was golden yellow, the most scarce sacred color, and brilliant. Hoab had never seen such before, and was overwhelmed with fear and delight, but many of his hosts were obliged to hide their faces. 5. Presently, the light condensed over the throne, even whilst 3,000 million looked on it, till like a very sun it stood above Fragapatti's head. And then came the voice of the Almighty Jehovah out of the midst of the light. Jehovah said, 6. Hear the words of thy Creator, O man. I, who created the corporeal and the Asaean worlds, behold the works of my hands. Who can find a place where I have not created? 7. Think not that I cannot also create a voice and words. For is this not easier than to create a man who shall create words? Behold my corporeal sons amidst my corporeal star worlds. Behold my Etherian sons amidst my Asaean worlds. 8. I made corporeal darkness, and I made corporeal light. I made spiritual darkness, and I made spiritual light. But I am the light of light. I am the word of words. 9. As the wisdom of man inventeth words, so doth the light of my light come in words to them that can bear my light. 10. Behold my wisdom, O man, in creating souls out of the substance of corporeal darkness. Thus can their souls hear me and not be afraid. But to them who become pure souls, I come openly. Their throne becometh my throne. Their voice becometh my voice. Their hosts look upon my throne, and my light shineth before my people. 11. Hear then thy Creator, O Zeredho. Thy people called to me in their darkness, but I came not. Thy hand was upon them. Thou hadst said unto them, Behold my wide countries, my mountains and valleys, my bright rivers and refreshing winds. Come ye, they are yours to keep forever. 12. And because thy hand was upon them, they were beset in darkness. They could not find their way out, neither beheld they more the glory of my kingdoms. Yea, thou wert as a wanton, going after my chosen, and thy voice lures them away from me. 13. But I spoke in nirvana, high above, in my thrones of light, and my sons and daughters heard my voice. I said unto them, Lo, the red star in her heavens are fallen in darkness. Go ye to them and deliver them into a new resurrection. 14. Had I not spoken in the ancient days, saying, Inasmuch as ye raise up them that are beneath you, so will I send them who are above down to you, to raise you up also. 15. But they forgot my words, neither strove they more to raise up them that were in the hells below. And I said unto my Nirvanians, Go ye to Zeredho, for she hath enticed my holy ones away from me. And ye shall give them a parable of compensation openly, and they shall come before my light and hear my voice. For ye shall take them to hell and cause them to deliver the Judas, through the light of my countenance, and thereafter shall I bring them to Maru, that I may speak with them face to face. 16. Hear the commandments of your Creator, O ye sons and daughters of Zeredho, for that which I give unto ye shall be inviolate, which is, that ye shall have dominion over the earth and her heavens for 200 years, commencing at the close of this dawn of Dan. 17. And thou, O Hoab, shalt be God over all the rest, and thou shalt be anointed with power to raise up successors with power and wisdom. Be wise, O my children, and profit ye in the wisdom of my Etherian host, whilst yet the dawn of Dan remaineth. 18. The voice ceased. Then spake Athrava, saying, In thy name, O Jehovah, do I suspend myself from thy throne, till it be the will of Fragapatti and thy will also. And he rose up and stood aside. Then Fragapatti went and sat in the midst of the throne. 19. Fragapatti said, I proclaim 3 days recreation to the holy council, and to the city of Maru. Behold, my people shall mingle together as brothers and sisters, rejoicing in the light of the Father. Be ye joyful, singing and dancing. The ascent to Jehovah's kingdoms may be likened unto a ladder with steps, and not an even plain, and ye shall call this the first step in the resurrection of the earth's heaven in this dawn. 20. The host then mingled together, greeting and rejoicing, for the Zeredoans had long desired to see the Etherians now dwelling in Mauru, and the Etherians were equally desirous of seeing the Atmospherians. Consequently, there was great rejoicing and merriment. Chapter 16. When the time of recreation was ended, Fragapatti ascended the throne of Jehovah and signaled to the marshals to proclaim order and labor. And, at once, the vast multitude took their places, and in the same instant the Esenars discoursed music with anthems, that which, when finished, was a signal for business, heavenly. Fragapatti said, 2. Again am I about to depart, and again to leave the god of Mauru, Athrava, with you. And Hoab, and such of his host as I may choose, shall go with me. For according to the rank and glory of gods, I must now deliver Hapacha and his kingdom of Ipsiogi, raised up from Gautama. 3. Thereupon Fragapatti descended to the foot of the throne and sat down, and Athrava, god of dawn of Mauru, came down and took him by the hand, in ancient manner, and said, Behold, thou hast honored my throne, and the time of thy departure is upon thee. Arise then, O God, and go thy way. 4. And Fragapatti rose up and stood aside, and signaled for Hoab to go and be raised in the same manner. That which he did, becoming wise in the behavior of gods toward one another. 5. The marshals had filed 50,000 attendants, besides 10,000 Esenars, and, at a signal from Fragapatti, marched forth out of the capital, followed by the host of Hoab and 100,000 Etherians. 6. And when they were once beyond the lights of Mauru, behold, some of the host of Hoab rejoiced, because they were better pleased to be where there was less light. Yet there were 700 millions of them who rejoiced not, but rather loved the light more. 7. Then Fragapatti said, It is well that not all are of one mind. The 700 million who love the light more shall be my traveling companions to Ipsiogi, because they are strong in light. I have work for them. But the others shall be taken back to Zeredho, whither I will also come in due time. 8. And after they are settled in Zeredho, behold, I will send a god to them, and they shall found a new kingdom, in Jehovah's name. Let all hands, therefore, enter the Avalanza, following me. 9. At once the hosts entered the ships, and Fragapatti gave the word to be off, and they sped forth direct for Zeredho, led by swift messengers who well knew the nearest route and the lightest places. And the route taken was through the sea of Fuwicha and the Orum of Haidi. 10. Hardly had they gotten under way when the light of the upper heavens began to descend on Hoab, whose excitement from the wondrous scenes made him propitious to the change. And feeling the buoyancy of the light, he thus held forth, saying, 11. How could I forget thee, O Jehovah, or thy purposes observe, and deny thy designs? How saw I not that at my quickening in my mother's womb I was the farthest from thee? And yet, even then, thy breath was upon me. 12. And when thou had fashioned me, and badest me walk upright, thou didst send the angels to me, saying, Behold, thy Creator liveth. Life of his life thou art, flesh of his flesh created he thee, and he gave thee thyself in proof of himself. 13. In the earth was I conceived, housed up in darkness, of thyself built up, nor was I of myself anything under the sun. 14. And thou created the honeybee, and bade him to speak for mine own benefit. He said, Behold me, O man, I am a worker. In a community I live with my brothers and sisters. I shut my eyes to things sour and bitter, and I store my house with sweet provender only. Soul of man, hear me. I am the voice of thy Creator. Behold the harmony of mine house, and the provision I make for my newborn. 15. And thou created the ants, and bade him speak to me for mine own benefit. He said, Behold me, O man, I am a worker. In a community I live with my brother and sisters. Soul of man, hear me. I am the voice of thy Creator. Behold the industry of mine house, and the burdens we bear jointly into our stores. 16. And thou created the spider, and bade him speak to me. He said, Behold, O man, I am one with thy Creator. By the spirit of things I move. By the geometrical figures of the unseen worlds, I build my house. Think not that I reason or take lessons. I move by the spirit within me, and it moveth in concert with the spirit of things without. Hear me, spirit of man. There are two ways to knowledge before thee. One is by the soul of things, and one is by reason. 17. And thou held up before my eyes continually that the unseen rules over the seen. Then I became vain before thee, O Jehovah. I said, when I am dead and born of spirit, then will I see the unseen, and cannot err more. 18. But lo, my folly in thy sight. When I was risen in spirit, I saw the spirit of things. But alas, the soul laid still beyond, and to me the soul was now the unseen cause, and ruler over the spirit. 19. Again, thy holy ones came from the ethereal worlds, speaking to me, saying, and yet beyond the soul cometh nirvana. 20. Now have I beholden thy crystal spheres and thy matchless glories. Yea, I look into the sea of Fuwicha, whither I had often gazed before, seeing nothing then, but now, beholding ships laden with gods and goddesses from the Nirvanian fields, in higher works and worlds moving. 21. And thy fire stirreth me to the soul, to expand to the mastery of these atmospherian heavens. Oh, that I could vent the hallowed glory thou hast bestowed upon me. Oh, that I could thank thee for the happiness I have because thou created me. 22. Oh, that I could open up the souls of men to behold thy wondrous works and the majesty of becoming one with thee, thou Almighty Jehovah. Oh, that they would hear me and believe. Oh, that they would not turn away from the light. Oh, that they could learn to glorify thee every day for the little light and little joy they receive. How like gods and goddesses would they become in thy kingdoms? 23. But they harbor discontent. They discourse on the little they have received from thee. Like the cankerworm that groweth to devour, they feed their sorrows by recounting them over and over. For pain they cry out, and for disappointment they weep. Yeah, they feed their own darkness with darkness, and in the end forget thee, thou all light. 24. Hoab ceased, but gazed at the coursing ships in the atmospherian heavens, whereupon Fragapatti said, 25. Behold thy wisdom, O Jehovah, whom thou would make strong. Thou had made to feel adversity's sting, for the emergencies that lie ahead. Thou plans thy gods to run near the cliffs whereon millions perish. 26. Who can attain to know thy wisdom, O Jehovah? Who can comprehend the millions of thy sons and daughters? And yet thou knowest every one, and carriest them by a breath. So gently they feel thee not, nor know thee. To a very hair's breadth thou takest them, and in time of desperation thy hand cometh to the rescue of the righteous. 27. Man saith, now will I fortify myself with riches and houses, and all manner of possessions. Adversity shall not come upon me. I have more faith in my possessions than in Jehovah. Mine is the kingdom I can see, but Jehovah is afar off. 28. But thou art suffering him in his vanity to go away from thee for a season. Sooner or later thou bringest him in with a short turn, either on earth or in heaven, and he goeth down as an example to hundreds and to thousands that envied him. 29. Thou hast set up the poor man in faith. He toileth day and night. He is weary and sore. He crieth out with hunger. His rags are a shame to him. But he remembereth thee, O Jehovah. In thy praise he singeth the song in his soul every day. To do good unto others is his great delight. 30. And thy hand reacheth down to him in time after. His soul is like a giant. Thou hast planned him for a very God in heaven. 31. The spark of faith that was in him he nurtured, and it became as a mighty tree that fell down before the blast. The good he received he exalted, And it fructified and grew as a harvest in rich soil, and he stood mighty in all places. 32. In thy praise are his songs, and they endure forever. His psalms are the voice of thy loves, and the multitude of thy people remember him, whilst all else are cut down and destroyed. Thy work hath a sure foundation. Thy wisdom standeth before man's wisdom. Not one hath found a failure in thy word, as it speaketh to his own soul. 33. Thy labor is from the subtle and unseen, thy footstool the cause of causes. But the vain man looketh to thy object. He turneth thy ways upside down. He maketh the cart to push the horse. And thou sufferest him to drink to the fill of his own vanity. And when he runneth himself into torments, thou findest a way to reach him and bring him home to thee. 34. Great is his glory when he findeth thee. His voice becometh the love of thy loves forever. For thou hast shaped him as an example, and given him scope to run his extreme, for his own glory. Yeah, thou hast planned him for one of thy great workers, that would not go down afterward.